What's up guys, today's video topic is 5 reasons to stop overthinking. And at the end of the video, we're going to talk about an exercise that will help you decrease how often you overthink. Hopefully it will help you out to be more confident in the things that you seek to accomplish. Alright, so let's start with reason number 1. The reason why you should stop overthinking is because it fosters insecurities. We all have these moments where opportunities are presented, maybe possibilities to go to a new place, meet new friends, meet new people, or even trying something fun for the first time. However, for some reason we start feeling insecure or unsure about it. We decide that maybe we won't follow through with it. We might even try to talk ourselves out of doing this thing. It's very similar to the feeling you have before you go on the roller coaster, right? Like you're very excited, but then all of a sudden, when you're really close to getting on, for some reason you decide that maybe you want to step out of line, that you don't want to go through with it anymore. It's this sort of angsty feeling that you get. The problem is that this particular feeling makes us miss out on a lot of opportunities. And these insecurities only exist because we are overthinking a lot of the times. There's nothing real about them. For example, you could have had a great time meeting new people, going out, or maybe you even missed out on a job opportunity because of overthinking. Which leads us to point number 2, regret. Most regret comes about from acts of omission. In other words, it comes about from things we did not do. There's a lot of research backing this up, and a lot of very important people actually use regret minimization as a way to lead their lives. It's essentially about asking yourself every time, would you regret not acting on this later on in your life? If you start asking yourself this question about how you would feel later on in life if you didn't try or if you tried, you're going to start realizing that a lot of the answers you get are the same, that you'll most likely regret not having done this later on than in this specific moment. And that will hopefully bring a lot of clarity to your choice. Go for it. Don't let overthinking make you regret things later on in life. Now the next reason, your mind is very powerful. A lot of times when you're in a situation where you start to overthink, your brain will start creating scenarios that are completely sound and logical to yourself. But the reality of it is, it's just an excuse that your brain is trying to shove down your throat to get you to stay in your comfort zone. Let's use the example of trying to get a new job. Sometimes when you apply for a new job, this can be really daunting. Once you're actually in the process of it, you start seeing the application, you start seeing how many people are applying to it, and maybe you start to feel insecure or unsure about it. For example, you may find out that 500 people are applying to this job. And so your brain starts to overthink and tell you unconsciously that, well, maybe it's not worth it to continue applying because what's the likelihood that you're actually going to end up getting it at the end of the day? But what you don't realize is that following through with that is actually going to be very beneficial, because even if you don't get the job, you can ask for feedback. You can ask why they didn't choose you if you don't get the job. And of course, if you get it, then you would have missed out on that opportunity completely. Whatever the outcome, you would have gotten something positive out of it. And overthinking takes that away from you. Which brings us to point number 4. Whatever the situation may be, you will always be able to take away something from that. Overthinking deprives you completely of that. It does so by keeping you in a mental bubble, a state of mind where you feel safe and comfortable, but at the end of the day, it's just a false sense of protection, where by doing nothing, you will almost certainly be worse off than if you'd acted on it. And the last reason is understanding why overthinking happens. It's an unconscious behavior that you should train yourself to catch and become aware of it when it happens. It's a primal reaction that tries to keep you in a zone of comfort, in this sort of safety net. However, the reality is that in order to grow in life, to develop as a person, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Growth only comes about from doing something you've never done before, bringing change into your life, learning from your mistakes, so you can develop insight next time you're faced with a similar situation. Using a personal example, a few years ago I moved to Chile by myself. It was right after graduating college. When I moved there, I knew absolutely no one, 0 people. But I couldn't even rely on thinking that I would meet anybody anytime soon. And as soon as I got there, I noticed that the cultural differences were vastly different. Even if I knew Spanish, the differences in how people behaved and just were in social context was very different from what I was accustomed to. However, I knew that if I didn't make a conscious effort and get out of my comfort zone, I would just dig myself deeper in a pit of isolation. And I remember very clearly how I landed on a Sunday night, and that same day, I found an event for 2 days later on Tuesday. It was at a local bar, I believe, and I decided to go just so I could meet new people as soon as I could. Even if it was by myself, didn't have complete understanding of the context culturally and socially. Even if I didn't know anybody or just knew anything, and my entire life was in another continent altogether, basically. But I still remember very clearly that as the night was approaching on that Tuesday night, and I was about half an hour away from having to leave my Airbnb apartment, I started to overthink naturally, with those typical thoughts of maybe I shouldn't go, maybe it's gonna be weird, maybe I should just wait, maybe it's too soon, maybe I don't have to, maybe I would just even stand in a corner by myself, I wouldn't talk to anybody. All those irrational thoughts just start popping up in my head. It wasn't, however, the first time that I started overthinking, and I knew this, so I quickly became conscious of it, and I was aware of it. This self-awareness helped me out, and I quickly used an exercise called the 3-second countdown. It's very simple. The way it works is you start counting backwards from 3, just 3, 2, 1, and go. You act on it. You just stop yourself thinking, you just act. Let's say you're being lazy and you can't get up from the couch. You count backwards from 3, 3, 2, 1, and you get up. And so in that moment, I did just that. I counted backwards from 3, just 3, 2, 1, and I left. I left the apartment, went to the elevator, and started walking down the street. By the time I was starting to get back in my head again, I was already halfway there. What happened next was I met a great group of people. I met someone who I became very close friends with, and I was able to meet even more people later on because of that specific night. One of my closest group of friends arose from that specific occasion, and had I not overcome my overthinking, I would have probably never met them. It was all thanks to me just getting up and going and just acting on it. To this day, over 2 years later from when I left, I still talk to them on a regular basis. And I can't help but to ponder on that occasion, because it was a very conscious example of, in my life, that overthinking would have taken something away from me today. This, however, was not an instantaneous thing. It took me a lot of time and practice and a lot of other missed out occasions for me to get to this point. So don't worry if it doesn't happen right away. As with all things in life, practice, repetition, and time will get you there. Just remember, stop overthinking. Practice self-awareness, and when you start, catch yourself early. Use a 3-second countdown if you have to, and just act. Just go. Just do it. The best example I have of this is a person jumping off a diving board. It may seem very daunting at first, but when you do it, you see that it's not that big a deal. So just act. Thanks for watching, guys. If you found this video helpful, leave a thumbs up, it really helps us out. Comment down below your experience with overthinking. I'm curious to know what you've done in the past to overcome it, or if it's affected your life in any way. Subscribe for more videos about self-development, language, and culture, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.